a lot of people, like, people don't understand when it comes to KK that KK Timpson's stock is in the gutter. Like, it is in the gutter. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, teams will take her based on potential. Like, KK Timpson's potential.
There's a calculated high-level battle unfolding behind the scenes of the WNBA. One that most people never see, yet it's already separating true roster masterminds from decision-makers distracted by surface-level hype. Welcome back to WNBA Pro, where we cut through the noise and expose the real strategy driving professional women's basketball. Right now, the league is shifting fast, and two major storylines highlight the growing divide between building attention and building champions. On the West Coast, the expansion draft sent a quiet but powerful message across the league. The Golden State Valkyries entered with a clean slate, deep resources, and a rare chance to reshape the talent landscape. Not just through who they selected, but through who they intentionally passed on. Their decision to overlook Phoenix Mercury's Sophie Cunningham wasn't accidental. It was a clear signal of a more disciplined, data-driven approach taking over front offices. At the same time, in the Midwest, a defining moment is taking shape. Reports suggest the Indiana Fever may stick with their current core around Caitlin Clark, choosing continuity over aggressive upgrades. In a league evolving into a relentless competition for dominance, staying still can be just as risky as making the wrong move. Today, we break down why Golden State prioritized long-term control over short-term attention, and why Indiana's patience could either prove visionary or become one of the biggest strategic errors of the offseason.
Who will give you the same energy if they're a starter or if they're a bench player. Who will play the one if needed. She can't dribble. But, like, there are certain matchups where she can be a secondary ball handler because she's, like, her IQ, she can play the one. Like, she looked really good playing the one in preseason, and now I think it was the Connecticut Sun full court press.
To fully grasp the impact of this expansion draft, you have to understand the critical divide between perceived market appeal and true on-court value. For years, the league spotlight has elevated Sophie Cunningham as one of its most recognizable and influential personalities. A tough competitor, a reliable perimeter presence, and a player with undeniable flair and visibility. She's built a powerful personal brand that resonates with fans and sponsors, projecting intensity and confidence while positioning herself as a key cultural piece in Phoenix. Naturally, when the Golden State Valkyries began constructing their franchise from the ground up, balancing ticket sales, fan engagement, and roster identity, many expected a player like Cunningham to be a top priority, a seamless blend of visibility and veteran presence. But when the moment arrived, Golden State made a decisive and disciplined move that cut through all assumptions. They evaluated the attention, the following, and the narrative, and chose to move in a completely different direction. Leaving such a prominent name untouched wasn't hesitation, it was intention. It signaled a front office operating with clarity, prioritizing performance metrics, long-term cohesion, and sustainable success over immediate recognition. This wasn't just a draft decision. It was a statement about building a foundation designed to last.
Other than Alyssa Smith, probably. KK Timpson, I don't even know how to describe KK on defense. But, like, Sophie Cunningham she doesn't switch off. She doesn't switch off at all. She plays hard. She is disciplined.
You have to understand who's leading this operation in Golden State. This isn't a typical expansion franchise feeling its way forward. It's built with the same sharp, analytics-first mindset that powered the Golden State Warriors championship era under Joe Lacob. Their approach is precise, disciplined, and unapologetically results-driven. They aren't swayed by social media presence, pre-game fashion, or viral moments. They focus on advanced metrics, defensive flexibility, composure under pressure, and long-term fit within a system. When the Valkyries evaluated Sophie Cunningham, they looked beyond the visibility and studied the details. Late-game consistency, defensive positioning, and whether production truly aligns with perception. Building a roster from scratch demands stability, cohesion, and players fully committed to execution over attention. Golden State made a firm, calculated call to prioritize substance over spotlight, recognizing that introducing a dominant public persona into a developing environment carries real risk. By passing on Cunningham, they delivered a clear message across the league. Reputation alone no longer secures opportunity. Today's front offices are demanding complete, disciplined, two-way players who elevate the system, not just the conversation. It's a decisive shift, one that shows Golden State is focused on building a contender with lasting identity, not chasing short-term attention.
You cannot tell me that Sophie Cunningham is that much worse than Bridget Carlton. She's a better shooter than Bridget. Same height. I think Sophie's a better passer. I think Sophie moves it at the ball better. Carlton's a better defender. I think they are very close to being an equivalent as players. And
aside from a few reliable defensive pieces like Aaliyah Boston, there are still clear gaps in consistency and impact. And while Sophie Cunningham brings effort, discipline, and a high motor, effort alone isn't enough to anchor a complete system. And while Golden State is aggressively building a sharp, future-focused identity on the West Coast, attention now shifts to the Midwest, where the Indiana Fever may be drifting toward a far more dangerous path: complacency. This is a franchise holding the most transformative asset the sport has ever seen in Caitlin Clark, a generational force who has redefined visibility, revenue, and global attention for the league almost instantly. When you have that level of talent, timelines accelerate. There's no slow build. The opportunity to contend begins immediately. Yet, reports suggest the front office is considering sticking with the current roster, banking on internal growth after late-season progress and a return to the playoffs. On the surface, it sounds steady and logical, but in today's fiercely competitive WNBA landscape, standing still can be the most dangerous move of all. What looks like patience can quickly become hesitation, and in a league evolving this fast, hesitation gets exposed.
based on what we know, I think she would have been taken. And again, a lot of people are like, oh, but what about KK? Like, they would have taken her for potential. I still think KK's potential is just hypothetical. Like, there might be nobody that was almost higher on KK at a time last year, because I fully believed that all KK needed was rest.
Let's be direct about where the Indiana Fever truly stand right now. Yes, they reached the playoffs, and yes, their offense can be electric when the tempo suits them. But the postseason exposed serious flaws the moment the game turned physical and the margin for error disappeared. Against high-intensity, playoff-level competition, they struggled to respond with the same force. Caitlin Clark faced relentless pressure all season, full-court defense, constant contact, and aggressive tactics designed to disrupt her rhythm. To her credit, she handled it with composure and delivered elite production, but the bigger issue became impossible to ignore. The roster lacks a physical presence that can set the tone and protect its centerpiece. There's no dominant enforcer, no imposing frontcourt figure who can absorb contact, control space, and make opponents think twice before applying that level of pressure. History consistently shows that elite guards thrive alongside strong, physical teammates who balance skill with toughness. Players who bring edge, accountability, and presence. Expecting internal growth alone to solve that kind of structural gap is a major risk. Betting on the same formula without addressing physicality and resilience doesn't just slow progress. It opens the door for the same weaknesses to be targeted again when it matters most.
Multiple coaches now have deemed KK not worth playing, and it's not a Stephanie White thing. I do think she still gave more impact up to a point last season than Bree Turner, but what Bree Turner did the second half of the season, or the last 10 games, was better than anything KK did. So yeah, that is pretty much it, lads. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you guys agree with what I'm saying? Do you guys disagree? Do you guys think Sophie
The greatest threat facing the Indiana Fever right now isn't just on the court. It's the overwhelming success off it. The arrival of Caitlin Clark has turned Gainbridge Fieldhouse into one of the most in-demand tickets in sports, with packed arenas, record-breaking merchandise sales, and surging national ratings creating a powerful wave of momentum. But that level of financial and cultural success can quietly create a dangerous illusion inside the front office. When everything looks like it's thriving, it becomes easy to assume the roster itself is already sufficient. That's the trap, equating business success with competitive completeness. Meanwhile, the rest of the league is accelerating. The New York Liberty continue sharpening a championship-level roster. The Las Vegas Aces, led by Becky Hammon, are driven to respond with urgency, and the Minnesota Lynx are evolving with discipline and defensive precision. This is a league defined by constant pressure to improve, and standing still only widens the gap. If Indiana chooses comfort over action, they risk falling behind the teams that are relentlessly chasing dominance. A generational player isn't drafted to maintain relevance. She's the foundation for something far greater. Building a true contender requires bold, calculated decisions that prioritize long-term strength over short-term stability. Playing it safe may protect the present, but it rarely defines the future.